to really get you with this idea of the difference between kingdom walking and just being a praying Christian. That's what I'd like to do. You see, just being a praying Christian is one thing. I saw maybe, one or two jolly exciting, miraculous things happen a year, although I was full-time in ministry in my early days, up until about 10 years ago. And I often ask people, is that good or bad? Is that a lot for you, or is not very much for you? And I'm usually met with rather embarrassed silence, because actually one or two a year is quite good going. A lot more than that now, but that's what it was. And I was praying one day, how can I explain to people, Lord, the difference between kingdom walking and just being an ordinary interceding praying Christian? And that night I had a dream. It wasn't so much a dream in the night, but it's one of those sort of vivid pictures you get when you're sort of waking up in the morning and you're halfway between sleep and waking up. And it was like this. I was standing with my trouser legs rolled up on the side of a very wide estuary. And it was a terribly hot day, and I had my shirt off and the sun was burning my back and pouring down. And the problem that I had, this was a estuary, was that there were plants along the riverbank in front of me, on the edge of the water, which were drying out in the sun, and the soil had gone from dark brown to light brown to yellow, and the plants were all wilting. And I was standing in front of a plant with my legs upon my hands down between my knees in a scoop, and scooping water up onto a plant, scoop more up onto a plant, scoop up onto a plant, scoop up onto a plant, on and on. And I kept going for a bit, so that the plant in front of me was starting to recover a bit, and its leaves were getting a bit stronger, and I stood up to ease the stretch in my back a bit and looked up and down, because there were millions of these things all the way up and down the bank of the estuary. And I remember saying to myself, where's everybody else? Why can't other Christians get in here and help me? Why am I so alone doing this? And then bent down, scoop and push, scoop and throw, scoop and throw. And then I heard the sort of clip-clop horse hoofbeats coming up the bank of the estuary. And I thought, this is going to be good. I got an excuse now to stop and chat. And a big horse came above me, up the side of the estuary, and stopped in front of me. And there was a man sitting on it with a huge, great sun hat with a brim pulled down over his eyes, so I couldn't see his face in the shadow. And he said to me, what are you doing? So I said, well, I'm standing in this river. I'm all alone here, I know, but I'm standing here scooping water up onto these plants to try and save them. Well, the whole lot are going to die if I don't. I'm trying desperately to save them. And he looked at me, and I said, oh, it's killing me. I think I'll go off by another half hour or something, and I'm going home, I mean, there are limits to what I can do. And maybe one plant a day or something I'll have a go at here while the weather's like this, but it's not good for me, and it's tiring. So he looked at me, and he said, follow me. Which isn't actually very original, is it? It's been said before. But I thought, well, it'll get me out of having a broken back, bending over, scooping water up all afternoon. So I climbed up the bank, and his horse set off along the river bank, and I set off walking behind his horse. And on we went, and on, around the corner in the river, and then the horse stopped. I stopped, and he pointed down to the left. And down on the side below him, on the left, was a boathouse. And he looked at me and he said, in there is a gift for you. That's what I want you to use. So I said, oh, thank you. And so I clambered down into the boathouse, opened the doors of the boathouse. Well, you should have seen it. In there was a wonderful sort of 16-foot fiberglass hull, twin outboard motors on the back, really powerful stuff. Outboard motors were ticking over. So I opened the doors of the boathouse onto the river, jumped into the boat, pulled on the throttle, out we went. Oh, it was wonderful. I thought, I'm going to have some fun now. So I turned the boat to port, and I heaved on the throttle, and up came the bow, down went the engines and the stern, and we shot off up the estuary, upriver. And we got to a point where I really felt I ought to stop and turn round, but it was, and so I threw the tiller over. Round came, down came the bow, round came, on the throttle again, up she went, and powered down the estuary towards the sea. Oh, it was a wonderful go. And of course it was lovely and cool. It was easy on my back. I wasn't stretching myself. The cool wind blowing in my hair was absolutely wonderful. I got to the point where the boathouse was and looked up to wave to the man on the horse who'd given me, but he wasn't there. So we shot over the boat, and then I turned round even further and looked behind me, and I saw the wake of the boat coming out behind me, and it was about this high. I mean, you know, it was a good 12 inches high. And it was fatting out behind me, and when it eventually, as I look back, the wake of the motors hit the bank, it absolutely drenched not just the one plant I was trying to look at, but thousands of them all the way down the whole length of the estuary. And then I looked across, and the wake on the other side was doing exactly the same on the bank on the other side of the estuary. And all I had to do was just drive up and down. It was a wonderful experience in the cool air blowing in my hair. And I was just enjoying myself enormously, like a small boy in a nice big speedboat. And all this water lapping and soaking all these dear plants. And that's the end of the picture, really. But it does go an awful long way to me to explain the difference between kingdom walking and just being a lovely, interceding, humble, praying Christian. Is that kingdom walkers have been given something. It's a childlike knowledge. It's what Jesus called the secrets of heaven, the secrets of the kingdom of God. And when those secrets of the kingdom of God are revealed to you and to me, it's like having a speedboat, and you get in the speedboat and start enjoying yourself up and down the estuary of life, rather than having to work terribly hard in one particular area. So I give that picture to you in the hope that it will explain what you're letting yourself in for if you go hitchhiking in the kingdom of God.